Alright, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another YouTube video. Beautiful day. Just wrapped up a 4/4.5 day break from work. It's amazing. The team brought in $50,000-$60,000 in sales and cash collected sales over that period. It was just really relaxing. And read some books, took a lot of naps, hit the gym. It was amazing. And I've just been contemplating, there's a theme in my life of needing control. And in today's video, I just want to chat a little bit about, this might not be for my secular audience members, and that's completely fine. I don't mind dividing my audience in two there. But this is definitely for the people, who believe in that higher power, and more particularly who believe in the God of the Bible, because this advice doesn't apply to the whole spectrum of, theistic thinkers. But I put a post out on my Facebook wall, and maybe I'll put a little screenshot here. I don't know, maybe not, but it says you sleep better when you give control to God. And what I wanted to do in this video is share with you how, as a business owner, you can actively practice giving control to God. Actually doing so, because I think it's interesting, as business owners, we're afraid to give that control to God because we don't want to lose the sense of direction that we in our hearts have set in stone for ourselves. But we also don't want to hurt our walk with our Creator by assuming that we know what we need to do next. And so it's this weird thing. I get asked all the time, Trey, how do you balance your faith in business? I just haven't been able to do it. I feel like, it's either business or it's my faith. And I think a lot of people, and I honestly, I've struggled with this myself. This month we're coming up on our first $200,000 cash collected month. So that's, I'll personally put about $140,000 to $160,000 in profit in the bank this month, which is amazing. And that's selling our two offers, the Consulting Blueprint and the Scaling Blueprint programs, respectively. So this Consulting Blueprint helps people start and grow online coaching and consulting businesses, work with one-to-one clients, work with a group setting, whichever it may be, just kind of, educating people on topics that matter to you, and helping them get results in their life or their business. And then the Scaling Blueprint is when you kind of work with me directly to take that one-to-one, a group model, and get it to that $1 million a year profit mark, which we've done for 10 clients now. So that's what I do. And so it's been a challenge, honestly giving God control. And I'm not perfect at it, and I'm not going to claim that I'm perfect at it. To be honest, I think it's the most human thing, that we would assume that the power comes from within us. This is kind of the modern self-help mantra, tap into your personal power. And I think it's a scary thing because it can become pretty humanist pretty quick. And so how have I done it? First of all, I haven't done it very well, but how have I guess the question that I can answer for you in this video is, what does my process to be working on that look like? So here's the first thing. It's the awareness that I'm going to die, and the awareness that I'm taking nothing with me. And even my relationships. This is my belief system that when I die, whenever that day comes, I'm going to meet my Heavenly Father, and I'm going to be judged. And it's a very uncomfortable, viewpoint. It's a very uncomfortable viewpoint, and it's one that causes a lot of people to feel almost a sense of angst, right? It's oh, you know what? If God judges me for, loving this, thing, then I don't serve a good God, and I'm just gonna go do what I want to do. And I can understand that perspective, but myself, I'm trying, kind of failing while trying, but I'm trying to earn that favor. And I just know that my business and my career has very little to do, particularly the amount of money I make. I think how I handle situations and challenges, whether I handle them with honesty or dishonesty, whether I, serve others well or don't, whether I lead well or don't, whether I glorify the name of God in the process or don't. These things, I think, are a better indicator of my posture towards my Creator than purely the amount of money that my business brings in. I think the amount of money is one variable, right? But I don't think it's the only variable. And so how do you surrender control to God when, as a business owner, you pretty much live your entire life in control? If you're a successful business owner, you get things, let's be honest, you get things your way, you get them quick, and you can command things out of your business that you can't command anywhere else. This is why being engaged has been a challenge for me, because on one hand I want to get married, on another hand this is a whole other person, and I'm used to people respecting me with extreme esteem. And she does respect me, she does listen, and she does, follow my lead. But she's also a person, and I know that the closer somebody gets to you, the more they know about you, and the harder it is to actively choose to respect you. So I think it's easy for me to have a certain image online that is easy to respect, but if you were to spend, a couple years with me, you'd probably find things that, aren't so respectable. But I digress. I think giving control to God basically means, A, knowing that you're going to die eventually and that you're going to take nothing with you. And it's sad to me how rare that message is in the entrepreneurial space especially. I think we're very attached to worldly success. Whereas for me, I think the reason why I do it is out of a sense of maybe obligation, or maybe a sense of I've come too far to slow down, or maybe even a sense of like just enjoying serving other people. Like I love seeing my team get paid well, I love seeing our clients succeed, and I love influencing people towards what I believe to be a greater good. I think running a business is in of itself a spiritual act and something that everybody should do. And so I love helping people start one or grow theirs. So that's the first thing. You're going to die, you're taking nothing with you. The next thing is you're not actually in control. Control, one way to maybe define control is having discovered the natural law that governs the results that you seek and orienting yourself towards it relentlessly. And so in this way, you control your environment. But in reality, you're just bending yourself to meet the needs of your environment so that you can influence your environment to do what you need it to do. So the environment isn't actually in your control. You've just learned how to control it by knowing which levers to pull and which buttons to press to get what result. Whether that's in your relationships or in your career or whatever. The environment in of itself isn't of your creation. And so, truthfully, the environment that we exist in, these bodies, the economy we exist in, the time that we've been born into, all these variables are just completely out of our control. And yet we have this little bubble of control. And we think that means we're the gods of our own lives. And I would challenge that. I think we're the gods of that little bubble. I would agree with that. I think we're the kings and the gods of that little bubble. But there is so much vast unknown that lands outside of the realm of our control that, in my view, it's a humanist, ego-driven concept to think that we control our lives entirely. I just don't think we do. I think we can control what we can control, and what we can control we should steward well, but what's outside of that bubble, all we can do is pray and hope. And that's not a very self-empowered message, but I think it's the truth. I think we're only self-empowered to a certain point. I don't think we can ever get rid of our freedom. There's that book, Man's Search for Meaning. Whoa, sorry, I got something in my eye. I think it was like an eyelash or something, but there's that book, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, and it's basically the documentation of, this is a real man, true story. He was a Jew instead of like Nazi camps, and he basically documented the process of observing his family get murdered in front of him, having to sweep up the ashes of his loved ones from the chambers that they were thrown into to be killed, and all these horrific scenes. And yet he discovered that we have one power in our brains, and that's to respond how we choose to respond. And he could almost separate himself from what he's experiencing, and as opposed to experiencing it, see it as a lesson in of itself, and almost visualize himself 10, 20, 30 years from now teaching the lessons he's learning to a student body. And I think that's a really beautiful thing. And I don't think that freedom can ever be taken from us, and that freedom inherently, I believe, is a spiritual freedom, in that somewhere in between stimulus and response is our free will to choose. So I think that fundamental freedom lays across all of mankind, but effectively that freedom ends with we can't choose our stimulus. We can choose our response, but we can't choose our stimulus. And so I think that the stimulus response is that little bubble that we control. Or not the stimulus, the response bubble is the bubble that we control. Stimulus we don't control. And so in that way, when I say surrender to God, I guess what I mean to say is stop fighting so hard to adjust what you simply can't adjust and work with what you currently have. And you'll find that if you just work with what you currently have, that circle expands and expands and expands to cover more and more ground. And again, I'm not perfect at this. This is just theory for me. It's not like I've mastered these concepts, but that circle of influence expands further out, and eventually it does expand into the realm of the stimulus. Eventually it does expand into the realm of the things that we can't control. But unfortunately, the realm of the things that we can't control can't be defined. I believe that to be infinite. A comet could come and hit the planet anytime, right? We didn't see it coming. It just wipes out humanity, right? Nuclear war could be started with like the click of a button. Some, politician with an attitude that day could just wipe out civilization. There's things that are outside of our control, and I think to surrender to them is the first step to being able to control what is in our control. Because if we're actively seeking to control things that are outside of our control, then effectively we are shunning what is in our control. We're saying, I don't appreciate what I can control enough. We're saying, I'm not willing to work with what I have. I want more to work with before I'm willing to work. And that's a sad reality to live in, because some people think that they can expand their ability to influence their lives by taking what they can't control and bringing it into their circle of influence. I believe that you expand what you can get out of life by working within your circle of influence and naturally watching that circle of influence over decades expand. That's what I believe. I don't believe it's the former, I believe it's the latter. So when I say surrendering control to God, I mean to say that God has set up the world in such a way that there are variables that we simply can't control. And if you go to bed at night wondering how to take that control back, you won't sleep. You will not know rest until you can surrender to God. You will not know rest. I believe that to be true. When I seriously ponder the idea that we have a living, breathing God who loves us, who wants only the best for us, who will correct us because we're sheep. We don't know what we're doing. We like to think we know what we're doing, but we don't know what we're doing. None of us do. There's not a single man on the planet that can claim that he's figured out the universe. It abounds us. It's infinite. It's all theory, right? At the end of the day, it's all imaginatory. There's nothing of substance. And so to surrender to God, in my view, means to understand what is in your control while also surrendering what isn't, so that you can first and foremost do better with what is in your control while also relaxing into what isn't. Certain things that aren't in your control. If you try to control them, you will not know rest. And we all know as entrepreneurs how important rest is. We all know how important rest is. We know how important a good night's sleep is. We know how important, 2 or 3 times a week, maybe 4 times a week, taking a nap, right? We all know how important time with family and loved ones is. We can't be fighting all the time. So I don't know, that's my message. Put that on my Facebook wall, and I got a lot of messages about like how do you actually surrender control to God, and that's what I think. And hopefully this is a valuable video. If it is, let me know. And by the way, you're welcome to join our Facebook group on growing your coaching business. Check that out, linked in the description. Just completely free community, just tons of value. Just want to help you guys out, help you guys grow your businesses. Appreciate you all. Hopefully this is a valuable video. If it was, leave a comment, shoot me a message on Instagram at Trey Cockrum. I'm really active on there. And I'll see you in the next video.